Under motions other than government motions, motion other than government motion 501, Mr. Getson.
The Honourable, the member for Lac, St. Anne, Parkland.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Be it resolved that the Legislative Assembly of Alberta urge the government to establish corridors for transportation and utility infrastructure, including railways, roads, pipelines, and transmission lines, in order to improve access to global markets for the Alberta products and resources via deep-sea ports and locations, including but not limited to Hudson Bay, Kitimat, and the state of Alaska. So, Mr. Speaker, what does this mean? I'm talking about transportation utility corridors. So we've talked about energy corridors. We've lobbied in the past for the federal government to go out and help establish corridors as per Minister Panda's former motion in the past of 512 and 505, which I believe was unanimously passed. But this time, Mr. Speaker, I'm asking the government of Alberta to take it upon ourselves, to take the bull by the horns, if you would, to look at a swath of land or a tract of land where we could establish corridors for trade and transport. These would give us access to the deep-sea ports, which we greatly need. It would give us the egress that we greatly need for our products to get it to market. Now, rather than just restricting it to one commodity, we could have railroads, for example. Railroads are multi-commodity type items that could move both products in and out. And if I was to look at the Alaska corridor, which was conceptually designed and batted around for a number of years, of which the Alberta taxpayers have actually thrown dollars into that pot for, it would give us access right now to 3 deep-sea ports. These deep-sea ports, we could move oil, we could move grain, we could move foodstuffs. We could also be getting our products to market in the context of deep-sea port, 2 million barrel tankers, Mr. Speaker. Not the 10,000 or the 80,000 barrel tankers that skim up and down the coast out of Tsawwassen Terminal or out of Seattle heading down to the great state of Texas, but actually getting our oil, our products to market 2 to 4 days quicker. The cartage coming back on the other end of that, Mr. Speaker, would then give us access to sea cans, bringing that back in. If we were to run 1 million barrels a day of the heaviest of the heavy bitumens, and we put it in that context, in a compressed or a puck context similar to the Canapucks that were developed by an engineer at CN, we would be able to bring products back to market. Now, Tsawwassen and Seattle, they get backed up, and we can see by the protest from some of the friends of the extreme hard left, as we've talked about, we could get our products incoming back to market about 10 days quicker to the eastern seaboard for manufacturing, etc. And if we were to enhance that, and we looked at going over to Churchill and that side of the equation, we would get access to eastern Canada. We would also get access over to Europe. So if we were able to bring this product back into our market, we could utilize our free trade, our tariff-free zone that we have around the greater Edmonton area. We could put an inland terminal. That would give us multiple penetration to multiple markets. And if we're looking at a value-add chain, again, coming to those commodities, we know that the county of Oyen or the town of Oyen has already participated in some of this ground truthing, if you would. There is an appetite for our product to get it to market, not just the raw commodities. So folks from China came over and looked at a 49, 51% type ownership model. They wanted to get the ag products going into a manufacturing facility. They wanted to have it packaged and put there with their lettering of their native tongue on it with a maple leaf in the corner. Because they want our commodities. They want to get these items to market. And they want to get it from the farm plate, from that manufacturing facility, if you would, over to their plates over in Asia, in that market within 14 days. Currently, it's a difficult challenge to do that. Dow Chemicals, Dow Petroleum, for example, they want to put a nice petrochemical facility up there. They're trying to decide between us and Texas to get their product to market. Again, that's the problem. We have cheap gas, we've got great labor, we've got a good place to build, but we can't get it to market. We've been doing these things to ourselves. So what I'm looking at isn't just for us to say this is a great idea. This is a bit of a game changer. If you look at what's taking place in the U.S. right now, and I'll give you an example here. I received literally from one of the chairman of the A2A project. This is going 2 days earlier to this speech and this address, Mr. Speaker. And I'm going to read a quote here. The Secretary of State has signed off on the potential border crossing permit and is now going to the White House to sign off by the President. Won't be much longer. I'll have some further updates coming. The difference that they're doing down south of the border is the President is looking at the concept of the project and signing off on it and then saying, great, go fill in the blanks, go get it. So what I'm proposing is our government does, and take the folks that do the great regulatory work, get them on this side of the equation and help us. So instead of saying no or saying yes, and industry having to put this in with the uncertainty and the risk that goes with it, have them tell industry exactly what is needed. So we do the heavy lifting on our side of the fence. We're paying for the resources anyway. There's lots of concerns of how we make people productive and everything else. This is it. This is the game changer. So let's be proactive about this. Let's take that ball in our court and let's run with it. Let's do the First Nations consultation. Let's really leverage the IOC. Let's get full-on participation along a corridor. And if we were to say conceptually 2 kilometers wide, 2 kilometers wide, I could put a couple train tracks in there. We could put a couple 36-inch pipes. We could put a big 48-inch line up there. And if I was using that corridor that goes up to Alaska as an example, well, then I could unlock Grand Prairie. We could have LNG facilities heading north. We could be pushing that material there. The Mackenzie Valley Delta has been a project that's been on the books forever. That would be 1,700 kilometers of pipe build to get it down to Zama. It's not productive. It's not cost effective. But if we put a corridor that route and that acted as the mainline trunk, well, then it's only 700 kilometers, Mr. Speaker. That makes it viable and accessible. We're looking at a roads to resources project. I believe it's the federal government has $3 billion on the table, $1 billion from industry, $1 billion from them. Arguably, it's our own transfer payments that would be paying for that, and from the territory itself and industry. So you've got a milking stool of $3 billion. All that is just to build simple infrastructure to get through the roads, to get to the actual cheddar, that part where they have to mine out. Now, if we swung our little corridor through that area, Mr. Speaker, we could unlock that whole Yukon. We could get them products going back and forth. Whitehorse right now trucks in their natural gas from British Columbia. If we did that lateral correctly, they would only have maybe 80 clicks off of a mainline trunk. You want to talk about resource independence and self-sufficiency? This could uncouple a ton of things here for Mr. Speaker. Prior life, the only thing that we had to worry about was doing the right thing to get our jobs approved. We've proven time and time again lately. We had so many projects that have been yanked out underneath us as far as industry, Mr. Speaker. And it's not for people investing, it's not for the goodwill, it's for the uncertainty. And I've spoken at length about that before. But the great work that the Premier's been doing and the rest of the ministers, apparently we have premiers that have signed off on that notional concept, 13 of them. Now, if we're talking a corridor, we should be able to talk about the trade and the commerce that goes between our great provinces. We should be able to do it at our level, not begging someone from Ottawa to give us a bone or to be genuine about what we're asking for. All I've seen in this province is hard-working people forever, strong and free. I'm so proud of this province and the people here, and it's no different than the other provinces that I've visited. We all have this will. We came to this country up north. We've done these type of things. We've faced adversity, and let's face it together. Rather than stumbling and fighting amongst ourselves, let's come up with what would be reasonable and accessible, and you eliminate the risk. Private industry is looking at the same thing now. I ran into a land agent I used to work with over at Enbridge at a bull sale this weekend, and they got money to invest, Mr. Speaker, and they can't. They're all worried about what might happen with the next blockade. You see Teck Resources pulling out. Whichever way you slice it, it's not because they didn't put in the effort. It's not because they didn't have the great technology. It's not because they didn't have money in the bank. The problem was we get tripped up at the goal line. And I know the Calgary Stampeders have felt that lots in their careers, not as much as the Eskies have, but it's a terrible thing, Mr. Speaker. So part of it here, I heard some stories too, and never waste a good crisis. I spoke in my maiden speech about some things that I reflected on and, having the strength and the wisdom and to know things, outcomes you could change and accept those that you couldn't. I don't accept that our province is dying on its last legs. I don't accept that we're the only jurisdiction in the world other than Venezuela that's facing an economic crisis that has this much resources at our disposal. So I believe we can actually pull together as a province. I think we can pull together as a country. We can start getting the ship going the right direction again. I want to get into Kitimat. There is the crux of the issue. We have a wonderful project up there, and we got cross-threaded again at the goal line. Now, if we established a corridor, you take care of all that in advance. And that's the certainty. Trillions of dollars of capital would pour back into our country if we take the initiative. Now, can you imagine the Prime Minister's face? I've never met him personally. I've seen his face a few times talking about conceptual things, and apparently he has a nice hair, as my colleague had stated. But can you imagine if you actually came to the table with a proposal and said, here, we all agree. We as provinces agree. We as First Nations folks agree. Industry agrees. And testing it with industry, the litmus test on this is huge. They agree. If we could get our act together, this is a nation-building item that we can do. We just have to take the bull from by the horns and make it happen. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.